now we're recording. But awesome. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So Chicago winters are brutal. Nothing new there.
No.
And how much longer are you there for till you finish up pre-med?
I don't know. I've lived here my whole life. Especially now that I've actually been traveling a little bit, like I really don't know where I want to go. People ask me, but I know I'm not going to stay in Chicago the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised here. I was not meant to stay here. I was meant to go out there in the world,
Right.
And honestly, I see myself here until I finish pre-med and then possibly staying here to finish med school if, the opportunity lies here, because where I work now, I've got got my foot in the door,
Yeah.
so it's a really good transition. I already work for a hospital that's a teaching hospital, so I feel like it would be really good. But then again, the future is very unpredictable. Things can happen, things can change. And I'm very, I'll go with the flow, but at the end of the day,
Right.
I'm still going to be the doctor. How I get I can't tell you guaranteed, but I know I'm going to be it.
Right.
So I could be in Chicago for medical school. I may not be in Chicago for medical school.
Okay.
Most likely, my best bet would be to stay here because, I have family here who can support me. Because when you do go to medical school, like, you can't really work. You can't,
Right.
it's very demanding. So I might need them.
Gotcha.
To
But you got a bigger family as of this year.
Huh?
I said, but you have a bigger family as of this year, so you can still go anywhere.
That is true. And I've actually, because of my bigger family now that I have with BU, I've actually been like, I kind of want to go to Cali because everyone's out of Cali. So I'm like, maybe I'll move to Cali. But Cali is a lot more expensive than Chicago. So
That's true.
yeah. So it's like, I don't know.
We got to get your side businesses going and just get them to start funding your school.
That'd be awesome. Nice. Mm-hmm.
So you still been getting in the gym?
Yes, I got my gym clothes on. So after this call, I will be going to the gym.
Nice.
I've been still recovering. I was doing very well. Like, I was back in the gym, back in the swing of things, doing my boxing, pivoting. But actually recently re-hurt my injury. So I've been braced back on, limping. I'm just kind of doing upper body, but I'm working around it. It's been 6 months since my initial injury. I'm just still kind of hoping it gets fixed soon, because
yeah. It's funny. I talked to my brother. Well, I actually just took him to the airport this morning, but I was talking to him a few weeks back, and he's a runner like yourself. He's run a couple marathons, and he was telling me that recently he went out for a run and he forgot to put on like the leggings with like the cold and everything, and put on like the icy hot, and he ended up having like a minor tear. And I was like, why don't you like just go walk instead of like just going out there and run? And he's like, that's kind of like telling Kobe, like, why don't you just sit down? Don't even play. Don't put up any points. And I was like, yeah, I guess you got a point there.
It is very true. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that for athletes, that when they do get injured and they're away from their normal activities, it's not just a toll on their sports, but it's a mental toll too, because
right.
We love to do what we love to do. It is our escape, it is our therapy, and it is the way we like to express ourselves. And when we can't do that, we're left kind of lost. And a lot of people don't understand that,
Yeah. I mean, can you talk more about that? Like, what is that? What has it been like is this the first time you've had this like injury being out for 6 months, or is it?
This is the worst injury I've had. Like, I've had injuries in the past before, but they haven't been this bad. Like, it's usually just been one portion of my body. Like, it was my hand at one point, and it was just my hand, which I was like, okay, fine, I can do legs, I can do this, I can still do that. but this time it was like both my knees and my elbows. So I couldn't do any upper body and I couldn't do any lower body. So it was tough. I will say I did go into like a bit of a depression because I've always been very athletic. My first half marathon was at the age of like 15 or 16 years old.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and then I was in high school. And then so like after like, I was married, I got divorced, and then I fell into depression. And when I was divorced, I gained weight. I was like, people get married, they get comfortable, they get lazy, just lay on the
Yeah.
couch and watch Netflix. You get so cozy. And I gained a little weight. I gained about 60 pounds and I didn't see it. My mom would tell me like, you're getting a little chunky. And I'm like, Mom, you're so mean. No, I'm not. I refuse to see it,
Yeah.
but it was true. And then after my divorce, sports, I started up my sports again and in the gym, and it became, like I mentioned, my therapy, my release, and it was
Right.
really great. And I lost 60 pounds. I lost it all off. And then I think I became addicted to the high, especially for
Yeah.
runners,
Yeah.
the runner's high,
Oh,
as a
yeah. Yeah.
and adrenaline. Like I love going in the ring and just boxing and bobbing and weaving, and next thing my feet are like, it's
Yeah.
exhilarating. I
You
love
just
it.
like in the zone and you just like zone out
Yeah,
and it's like, whoa, you come to what happened? Like, did I black out? Like, man, like
exactly.
I know exactly what you mean because I started doing this 10K trainer a few months ago and I'm wrapping up now. I think tomorrow will be like the last day. And like it started from running 1 minute, walking for 2 minutes, like for the first week to now running for like 45, 50 minutes straight. And like right about 15, 20 minutes, you just going and I'm not even thinking about it. And even like when you're tired, like it's just
Yeah,
like you just keep moving your arms and I'm like, huh, like it's clear. And I'm like, should I stop doing this? Like once I've already made it here, am I gonna go back down or is it gonna be okay, you did 10, like
mm,
go and do 20, go and run a marathon? It's like I really don't want to do that, but I'm like, it's it's a good type of addiction where it's like you're active, you're
yeah,
productive, and it's like,
exactly.
eh,
Like if you were to be addicted to something, hey, that's a good thing to be addicted to. Honestly,
yeah,
I get it. No, I get it. But eventually, if you're too addicted, like rest days are
yeah,
important.
right, right,
Yeah, like you need a rest day, and I was kind of very stubborn. I was like, I don't need a rest day. I got goals I'm trying to get every day, putting in work every day, doing that extra
yeah,
stuff, 120. But no, you need a rest, and that was my problem. Is that I did not rest, and I overtrained, and eventually I injured myself. And it's the
mm,
same concept with life. Like we overwork ourselves. We're so hard on ourselves. We're like, we need to do this every day. We
yeah,
our brains need a rest day too. You
right,
know?
right.
Yeah.
I guess how have you how, how have you been able to like force yourself to rest, like with having school and working out all the time and just like traveling and different things like that? How do you find the time to rest?
That's been a very hard area for me to actually like do because I would always my friends would always be like, you need to chill, you need to rest, you need to take a break,
Mhm.
relax, it's not that
Right.
serious. No, like my goals are serious. Like, what are you talking about? My goals are serious. But then I would become so overworked, so drained, where I became miserable and bitter, and I was very like short tempered, and every little thing would irritate me. And when
Yeah.
I got to that point, I was like, yeah, I need to do rest days. So I started to designate like a Sunday as I called it Sunday me day, which I
Yeah.
would do just in the summer. It was nice because I would go to my favorite spot down by the lake in Chicago, and I would just sit there by the water with my music, my book, or my journal. I would just write and literally just do whatever I want and reflect.
Right. Right.
But with cold, it's been a little harder.
Mhm.
The gym time was my me time, but
Yeah.
that got taken out when I injured myself. So it's
Gotcha.
just kind of finding ways to work around it and then travel, just kind of doing what I want to do, and it gets
Mhm.
tough. But I'm like, I've learned to give myself a rest day. Even if it's not a rest day, try to give myself like an hour a day where I just kind of solely focus on me. I'll turn my phone off and be on not do not disturb or something like that,
Yeah.
and I'll do that. Yeah.
That's smart. I like that. It was I think it was last month. I was just like had this random thought where I told myself I'm gonna go schedule a day or a time to dream, and I literally just went to the movie theater and I bought a movie ticket. It was Saturday. I bought a movie ticket for Sunday, like the matinee price or the matinee time. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like, I'm gonna go see the Joker movie is the one that I went to go see. And I was like, I've heard about it. Like I talked about it with somebody, and I was like, I'm just gonna go check it out. Like I'm in a much better um, mental state than I was before. And like when I watched it, I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have been ready to watch this movie before if I was not in the right mind state because it went everywhere. And I was just watching, not necessarily thinking like I have to get something from it, but I'm just like, no, I'm going here, not taking anybody with me, just going to sit, watch, and just kind of like just whatever comes up, comes up. If nothing comes up, I'm like, that was a good movie. And then just walk out. And just after doing that, I think a few weeks later, I went and saw Harriet with my mom, and just seeing her being able to enjoy it, and then just looking at it and just thinking, I was like, wow, that's really powerful. And I just happened to see it before ET and CJ and Carl came out with their episode of it, basically doing a deep dive, and I was like, man, that's good. That's some good timing right there. I didn't plan it, but it all worked out. Like I heard them hyping it up before, like how they enjoyed it, different people doing the lives and stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And then like I just jumped on the wave and I'm like, okay, like this is in line with what I'm doing. And it just worked out. But that's good. Like you are just figuring it out as you go along.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of us are kind of like people think that you have the answers. Like, no, I don't. I'm us. I'm figuring it out just as I go along, just like you. I mean, it looks
Right.
like I'm gonna, I'm figuring it out. But that's
Yeah.
okay. That's because like you, as long as you are figuring it out, then you're heading in the right direction. Because if you're just sitting there just twiddling your thumbs, hoping things are going to fall into place. Like they don't just fall into place. They get into place because you put them there, because you do the actions that will move these things into its place. Like when you mentioned, like, you know, you go into the movie theaters, you see the movie, and the next thing you know, ET's doing this video on it too. Like you're like, that was perfect timing. I'm like, yeah, that's not a coincidence though.
Right.
Life happens when it's supposed to happen because things are supposed to happen at a certain time. And then
Yeah.
that's just how they work out. I'm a big believer in that. Big believer that even if I don't like it, if I don't want it, it makes me sad or it makes me cry or it makes me happy or joyful,
Mm-hmm.
it happened for a reason. There's a reason at this moment in time, in this world, in my life, that this action is particularly happening for something right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. Just I just heard somebody either say that today or yesterday, and they're talking about is a good friend of mine, Royce. He lives up in Lansing, Michigan, and he was saying he's in the mental health space, like getting certified as a clinician, and he just talked about that everybody has a book that they can write per se, but it's like everyone has their own story that they're able to write and say like, okay, this is my life, and whatever happens in your life, it's a lot of times you can look at it as like, oh, why me? Oh, I wish I was like somebody else, but it's like the less time you focus looking at other people, it's like, you know, hey, my life isn't so bad. Like, okay, maybe you went from like a childhood trauma, like some people may not make it out of that, but like once you kind of start shifting your perspective on it and you start asking different questions, like I know right now it's the end of the year and everybody's looking at like, okay, what happened in 2019? Like, what am I going to do for 2020? And like, maybe I shouldn't say everybody, like who we know within BU, like that's kind of the focus. You're
1%.
yeah, the 1%, you're always like self-assessing and you're just trying to see like, okay, what can I do better? And the thing that's kind of come up in my mind over and over, it's like as I start to look at the people that I deal with and I see things that I don't like, whether it's their habits or their behaviors, I've started to look at myself and be like, wait, where am I doing that? Like, how am I doing that behavior? Because it's like, it's not necessarily them. Like, they're not the problem. It's just like either the
Right.
behavior or something. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm not too far removed from doing the exact same thing. And they say, I'll jump off my soapbox, but I've heard this thing said that pride, what is it? Pride comes before the fall. So it's like when you think you're like kind of all high and mighty, you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing it, I'm this, I'm that. And then next thing you know, you could be like down in the dumps, like, oh crap, like I'm trying to get my life back together type thing.
And pride is, it's good to be, proud, and
Right.
because you need to be proud of your accomplishments and the things that you do yourself. You got to be your number one supporter. But I definitely feel like too much pride can be negative. It can break you. Either pride can make you. And like you mentioned, like I really like you said, like everyone has their own story, and everyone can determine how their story turns out. And that's like I think a lot of people don't realize is that you are in control. You literally write your own story. Every action, decision that you make every single day determines what you're writing down on that paper. Small or big, waking up 5 minutes earlier, that will give you momentum. Literally, it's the small things that you do every day that lead into building that big momentum that can lead into the future that takes you to your goal. But yeah, I definitely like we all write our own stories. So we're the authors to our.
I guess as a fighter, has that been, or like being in fighting, has that always been like a mind state of yours, or did you feel like that's something you had to learn, like first fighting, or like just?
So when I first started to box, I want to say 15 or 16 years old. I'm 26 now, so that was about 10 years ago. I started it because I was a very angry teenager. You're a teen, you're rebelling. I was full of anger. And mom's like, you need a sport because I can't handle you. She's like, you pick what you want and I will sign you up for it and I will pay for it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I went out to Chicago Public Park District's page, and they had boxing. And I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. But I started to box because it was a way for me to release my anger. But it ended up becoming something that I really love because now was I just able to release my anger. Like even to this day, if I'm stressed or something, nothing feels better than either running or hitting the bag. But it also taught me discipline, self-control, being able to control emotions. Like people see boxing as a sport where you just go in the ring and you start swinging. Like no, boxing is a lot of strategy. It's a lot of control. It's a lot of analyzing. Like it's a lot of thinking that goes into it. And I've been able to take that into my life and just take control. And I take a breath. And honestly, it's like people like, and I'm like, I get punched in the face for sports. I'm like, if life decides to punch me in the face, I can take it. That's how, like, I tell myself, like, I always, like, my own motivator. I always tell myself, it's like, you're a fighter in the ring. You're a fighter in life. You got Sosa, that's my little like pep talk to myself.
That's what you got to do. Like sometimes, like I want to say at one point in life, I used to think that was cheesy, but it's like when, like I've seen people in the gym do that, just like, come on, like get one more, and it's like I thought maybe it was weird because I was always used to like somebody else pushing me, or I wasn't. Like I might push myself now internally, but I may not verbalize it. But there's so much power in that, like being able to tell yourself, like, this is what we're doing right now.
There's so much power in it because, yes, it feels good when other people come to you and tell you and motivate you because, yes, you want to hear the praise. You want to hear these things from them. But at the end of the day, like I mentioned, like you got to be your own supporter. But like the subconscious is such a strong thing, and that's something that we really can't control because it's our subconscious, but we can manipulate it by saying things to ourselves. You know, like I will look myself in the mirror and say, you got this today, Sosa. Today's your day, Sosa. Yeah, you're amazing. You're strong. Like, I will tell these things to myself because
Right.
I feed it to my subconscious. And then once I start keep feeding it and feeding it, then I start to believe it and believe it. And once I believe it, I'm like, I'm unstoppable. I got this. I can handle that. I'm like, so I think that it's like, it's good. Like I was in the same boat as you. I'm like, I don't want to talk to myself in the mirror. If you really think I'm crazy, I'm just walking like, come on, Sosa, you got this, Sosa. You know, but like,
Right.
at the end of the day, like, who cares what these people think? Because at the end of the day, you got to care about what you think about yourself, because that's what makes you happy. And if you're happy, you can go ahead and achieve anything else that you want to do because you're just so eager to go after it.
That's a good point. So I guess what's on the radar for you, say, like in the next 6 months? Like, what are you looking forward to, or like you're like, this is gonna happen next?
For my like academic life, or like my personal life, or like
Whichever you feel comfortable sharing.
Let's see. Well, the next 6 months, I definitely want to be already preparing for medical school and taking my MCAT exams and getting it in there. I also plan on, being healed and getting back into shape and being my top best physique as I possibly can, and also to be starting again and fighting again. So I'm hoping to start amateur fighting again once I've healed, and to be in a couple fights, and then eventually train for the Golden Gloves in Chicago, and then do that. But in 6 months, all I see is myself going up.
That's what's up. That's what's up. The yeah. I mean, like I was just thinking in my mind, like if I was thinking something differently for myself, but I was like, no, it's like we're on the same wavelength. It's like I just see everything going up, and like whatever challenges may come up, it's like you just meet them. Like you get punched in the face, or like life is gonna hit you, but it's like you prepare for it because you understand that like come what may, I was built for this. I'm made for this. And just like what's your morning routine like?
Well, I wake up in the mornings. I gotta get ready for work. So I'm already getting ready for work, waking up. But I always, I do my accountability calls with my BU family. But lately it's been a little tough because I switched my shift at work. So my shift starts at the same time as the BU calls start, the West Coast accountability calls.
Yeah.
So I'm here at work with like my tiny headphones, trying to like today's top goal is this, guys. Just like trying to whisper it or type it in the chats. But usually kind of my morning. On my drive to work, I like to listen to a lot of like motivational clips, videos, just on Amazon, or Eric Thomas, of course, and all these things. And I just like to listen to them to get my day started. It gives me a good pump. Like I'm going to work like I'm ready to handle today. So that's one of my favorite things. Yeah, get my mind right. Exactly. I like to get my mind right, get it going, get it prepping. That's usually like the morning routine.
You made any 6-month travel plans?
Yes, I'll be going to New Orleans and in February, and then I'll be going to Peru in April.
Very nice.
My best friend's getting married out there, so she's having a destination wedding. So it's not a vacation really for me, but I'm still going. I still have to plan out my yearly, because I tried to do 1 year international trip for myself. But like as medical school gets closer and closer, I'm gonna have to stop that for a while because, I gotta focus. I gotta work at school, because like they say, medical school, it's literally like that's your job.
Right.
Your job.
But I'm sure you already setting these things in place. You will be able to. I'm gonna speak this life into you. You will be able to manage something in there. If it's not international, maybe still like a trip to just be like, hey, like
Mm-hmm.
doctors in training can still have a life.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
what I was thinking, because I was like, maybe like you said, like I can go and just start traveling in the US and see all those
yeah,
different states. Like I go out of the country all the time because I'm like, I gotta see the world. But I'm like, there's a whole world right here that I still haven't seen. And it's much
yeah.
easier to the US, you know. I can take a weekend, a couple
Right.
days, and all right, I'm gonna be gone.
You
And
got
you
a
know,
lot in your backyard.
what was that?
I said you have a lot in your backyard being up there in Chicago,
Yeah.
because I just remembered, I don't know if I already shared this with you, but um, I was in the Chicago area for like 6 months, and then one weekend, like right around Labor Day, I had 4 days off in between transferring work, and I was like, I asked one of my coworkers, he's older gentleman, I think he's maybe 30 years or so older than me. And he was
Mhm.
just like, oh, these are some cool port cities you can hit around Lake Michigan. He's like, I don't know if you'd be into this, but this is stuff that I like. And I was like, sure, like, let me go check it out. So then you got like Sheboygan, Milwaukee, Green Bay, Port Washington, like all that stuff. And I just went there. And for me, I was just like being an outsider, checking it out. You walk around, like a lot of like all cities, they're kind of the same. You got like your
Yeah.
post office, your bakery, um, whatever's downtown, like the courthouse, things like that. But just seeing like people out there, and especially during like the not maybe not the winter months, but during the spring and summer, it's much it's much nicer to like get out and about.
Yeah. Because I mean, I do that in the summer when it's much nicer outside. I really, because I really enjoy hiking and being outside in nature, and you won't really
Mhm.
find it in the city. So I
Yeah,
have to drive out, and it turns into like a whole day excursion because I have to drive like 4 hours to find some kind of
it's,
like forest
it
preserve
is
with a nature trail that I like with the
right,
challenge
right.
climb up mountains. But there's a lot of beautiful things to see, and
Yeah,
you know, go to the Grand Canyon, like things like that. That's in the U.S. Just and I have a lot of friends everywhere, so I'm like, I can go stay with you, right?
right. Just be like, hey, I'll give you a day's notice. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm sure you'd give them a little bit more notice, but it's like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, come through.
yeah. I'm not picky. I'm not high maintenance. I'm like, I don't got an extra room. I'm like, you got a couch? I'll sleep on
Yeah,
a couch. I'm like, you don't? I'm like, that's cool. I'm pretty sure there's a Walmart near you or a Target. We will go buy an air
yeah,
mattress. I will sleep on it. I'm okay with that.
yeah. A lot of times, I think I told a couple of friends of mine from BU, they first moved to Atlanta, and like they literally just were just got the keys to the house and everything and signed the lease. And I was just passing through. I was like, hey, like I said, we don't have any furniture or anything. I was like, hey, as long as you got a floor and four walls, I'm good. And we just
Exactly.
crashed. And then in the morning, we just ate breakfast together, hung out, and it was a good time. Just spending time with good people,
Yeah.
and like just being able to socialize and build the new future.
Not just that, but it's also I feel like it saves you a lot of money, and not just that, but like that money that you do save, you can
Hmm.
use that on stuff out there, creating
Oh,
life experiences and memories, which I find better because I'm saying like hotels are nice. Yeah, you want to
mhm,
spend money on a fancy hotel, but think about it. If you're on vacation, you're only
mhm.
coming back there to sleep.
Right, right.
Like, I don't care if you got a gym and a spa and a fitness and this and that. Like, I'm going to be out
Yeah.
there. I just need a bed to come sleep in, shower and change, and then get back out there.
I guess
But
that's the good life about just being like young, and you're just ready to just go out there, especially if you're traveling on your own.
mhm.
Because I remember 2 years ago I went to DC, and I stayed at an Airbnb, and this January I'm going to go back up there for Jamal King's real estate course. And I reached out to the same Airbnb host. I was like, hey, do you have availability during this time? Then she was like, oh yeah, I do. Like, what are you coming into town for? And I was like, oh, there's this conference or whatnot. And she's like, hey, even before you go ahead and sign up, let me know, and I'll make it like a deal for you, so where you don't have to like pay the full amount. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I was just like I was gonna pay the full amount, but I was just wanting to stay with the same host because she was awesome, and she works
Yeah.
with like the government and stuff, does a lot of travel overseas, and we had a chance to like sit down and go to this Ethiopian spot, and I think that was maybe the first or second time I've ever had Ethiopian food, and I was like, man, that was good,
Good,
like
right?
really good. And then
It's
just
really good.
yeah, she gave me like all these suggestions of like, hey, like I'm just I'm not like she's there, but we had our own schedules. But it's like, okay, here where you can go get groceries. Here's where you can go
Wow.
visit, like the Capitol Mall. Like here's all the things you can do. And I was like, that's always fun for me, getting a chance to like experience the city through somebody that actually lives there,
This,
rather than just like you're passing through. It's like, oh, I did all the tourist things. It's like everybody does that. Come on, like
I
let's
know.
mix it up a little bit.
I when I went to Italy by myself, I actually I stayed in a bed and breakfast.
Mm.
And it was my first time staying in a bed and breakfast, and I actually enjoyed it. And I liked the host so much that I ended up staying with him in his
Mhm.
bed and breakfast, because it was like it was a bed and breakfast, and there's like, I think he had like 3-4 rooms. So there was like
Okay.
there was guest staying there, but like it was very small, but like I felt so comfortable being there, so safe. Like I already got
Yeah.
used to it. I ended up staying with him 3 times. Like
Mm.
I would go to Italy, then I went to Greece, then I came back,
Yeah.
and I'm like, got an extra room, and I'm staying in the
Yeah.
same room. And then
Right.
before I was coming back home, because my flight flew out of Rome, so I went to Venice, and then I came back. I was like, I need one more night. I'm like, you got a room? And he's like, yes, for you, come on in. So it's
Nice.
really nice, to have like a friendly face, especially because I
Right.
travel by myself a lot. So it can be a little nerve wracking,
Mhm.
but very empowering. I will say that. Very empowering.
Nice. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with you. And I met a travel agent last month at this IG Post Exchange event they were doing up in Atlanta, and like did an interview with her like this, and came to find out that she's a retired veteran, and like work as a dental hygienist, and just had like she was kind of trying to sort things out, and decided to start a travel agency for women to start off with, like herself, millennial women that are may not have had a chance to get out, or did just want to plan a trip that's like outside of the
Mm-hmm.
country or even within the country. And she was like, I hadn't traveled in 2 years, and like I would go with Japan, Russia, like all these places, and I just got home, kind of got comfortable doing my job. I was really good at my job. But then I looked up, and it's like, man, I hadn't gone anywhere in 2 years. It's like, let me go everywhere now. So she set up like this whole schedule for 2020. And I was like, wait, you're going where? You're doing Bali, and you're doing like Indonesia. And wait, those might be in the same place. But she just had like all these different trips. And I was like, oh man, I want to go. And she's like, wait. It's for women only, just for now, but I'll help you plan a trip.
I love that because it's because, like, especially as a woman, like, there's so many places that I want to travel to,
Hmm.
but they're not safe for a woman
Yeah.
to go to by herself, literally.
Yeah.
Like,
And
when I travel
yeah,
by myself, I literally Google top
right.
safe places to go as a solo traveling woman.
Yeah.
That's nice that she is doing that, like a
And
little.
the thing that she's doing is that she's making it to where especially for like millennials, that you move everywhere, and if you're in a city like Atlanta, is very transient, where um, different people come through there for work, for stuff, like you move and you go away,
Mhm.
and you may not be able to coordinate with your friends. So she like coordinates a group of women that you can travel with, and then you guys meet up and do brunch and stuff like that beforehand, so you get an idea
Yeah,
of who you're traveling with. And I
and I
was
like
like,
it
that's really
too.
smart.
Yeah, because like I've done it before where I've traveled with like my friend, like she last minute was like, "Oh, I want to
Mhm.
go to Paris with you," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." And I'm super glad she did because it was my first trip and I wasn't doing it myself. I'm so glad I didn't because I was not ready for it.
Hmm.
But I have not spent that long with her or a friend. Like,
Hmm.
think about it. If you're with a friend, you're not really with them 24/7, 7 days a week.
Right, right.
We fought. Like we fought, we got into arguments, disagreements, and it's kind of like it kind of ruined our friendship a little bit. Like we got back on the horse afterwards, but
Yeah, yeah.
aside, I really like the idea of what she's doing because like you can still travel with them, but you don't gotta be
Mhm.
with them 24/7, which I think that
Right.
can be successful on anybody. Being
Yeah.
with them, 24/7. Like even traveling with my parents, being with them 24/7, I'm just like I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Family
I-
vacations, I love y'all, but I can't be with you for that long.
Right, right. And it's like, yeah, everybody needs their own space. It's not a bad thing. Like if you do a trip by yourself, cool. If you do a trip with somebody, cool. Like
Yeah.
you need that, like a little bit of everything.
I will say though, when I'm traveling by myself, there were times where I was like, don't get me wrong, I got really lonely. Because there was a
Mhm.
day I realized like I was like, man, I have not said not one single word today. I have not talked because you're by yourself. Who are you gonna talk to?
Right,
And
right.
the only time I'll talk was like if I'm like placing an order for food or something like that. But I was like, man, and the time difference, it was not daytime for me, but for everyone back home, it was nighttime. They were sleeping, so I couldn't just call
Right,
them, be like, hey, what are you up to? They're like, it's 3 a.m. What do you want?
right. It's like I'm sleeping. That's what I'm up to.
Yeah. So I got very lonely, and there were times where I had these experiences where they were life changing and just moving, and I was just like, I really wish that there was someone here who I could share this with. So
Mm.
there were bad times, but it was also the times where I felt so empowered and liberated and strong and just very independent. It felt
Yeah,
great. I came back a whole different person. I learned things about myself, but there were definitely times where I wished I was like, I wish I could have someone who can
yeah.
see with me right now, because no one will
Right,
believe what I'm saying. This is
right,
amazing.
right.
Pictures don't do it justice. Like you'll take a picture, I'm like, that's not what it looks like.
Right, right. I feel like the only time that I've done that where a picture does justice to what I'm seeing is going up to the pictured rocks on Lake Superior, the
Mhm.
Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and literally they hand you, you know, when you go somewhere they hand you a brochure and they're like, okay, here are the hiking trails, here's places you can go, and I like took the shortest trail to the beach, and on the front it has this cliff where it's you have a cliff that's overlooking the water, and the water is like green and like just that like pure crispness to it. And I literally walked up when I was about to go there, and I look at the brochure and I look at that, and I even took the picture, and somebody's like, oh man, what kind of camera did you take that with? I was like, my phone. And they're like, wow, like that's amazing. I was like, yeah, it's different. Like it's very like surreal.
Yeah.
Like some things you can, some things you can't, to your point.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. Definitely can agree with that. Yeah.
But what's funny is that sometimes I think of myself as like a scout, to where I say, like I went to Vegas by myself, like saw the Hoover Dam, the Grand Canyon, this other spot, like went on the strip, like um is interesting. Like Vegas is Vegas, but to your point, like I think I went there 2 weeks after two friends of mine, they went together and they came back and they're like, oh man, like somebody's one of the guys, for some reason, I think he maybe had too much to drink, but he was driving somebody's wheelchair, sitting in the guy's lap. And he's like, oh, I don't remember any of that. But I was like, you know, like it is fun to kind of have those moments when you think back to it, like, okay, like I did spend the time, but then, yeah.
Yeah. That's very true. And I've been to Vegas a couple times actually. And I've been there, but I didn't go to the party in the strip. I actually went to Hoover Dam. I climbed up
Mhm.
Mount Charleston. I went to Red Rock,
Mhm.
Canyon and all that good stuff. It was good memories, good time.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to plan a trip for 2020, or if nothing else, at the least we'll do I'll probably see you at one of the conferences.
Yeah, I'm hoping. There's a good amount this year. You saw the
Yeah,
list?
they
There's a
put
good
out the
amount
list.
this year.
I was like, I can't look at it just yet because come January I may be outside the country with work. But I'm like, I'm gonna. I know for sure I'm gonna go to Mexico, and I was like, either before, like probably after that, I'll do something
Yeah.
else. But that that was one where I was like, I don't know if I can make it, but a friend convinced me to do it, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna go. And then just getting the funds together, talking with the travel agent, the coordinator, and they're like, yeah, we can like arrange the payments and things like that. And I was like, cool. Like now I just need to get busy, not only save up, but like start thinking about how I can either doing like the real estate thing or even with podcasting, like I'm gonna figure it out. However it's gonna happen, like we're gonna figure this out and just make it a regular occurrence.
Like we said earlier, we're just kind of figuring things as we go.
Yeah,
Definitely.
cool. Well, I won't hold you too much longer. You got to go to the gym.
Yeah. I'm gonna go work out before it gets too late. I don't know what time it is for you. What time is it for you?
It's almost 4:38. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
or
So you're
4:30.
an hour.
4:30. Yeah, I'm just an hour ahead.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. But yeah, go get my workout in and then prepare for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Back to work.
This one was much better, huh? I started listening back to the other one and I was like, ooh, yeah. Yeah. Like you were good, but like I was either super tired at that point and I was like, yeah, good call. Good call.
I was like, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Good.
Oh, do you want people to find you on social media or anything like that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Go ahead and give them your information. Let them know where they can find you.
Well, my main platform is Instagram, and my Instagram name is Sosa Strength. And it's just SOSA Strength. You know.
Awesome. Thank you.
No, thank you. This is great. Loved it, and just hope to hear and see it soon.
Likewise. I'll send it to you shortly. Enjoy your workout.
Have a good Sunday.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.